hello, happy birthday to me. During this time of, shall I call it a sacred time of quarantine with my family, where we are all able to really be ourselves and connect and just take this life thing to the next level. My friends asked me last week in desperation if I would be willing to teach them a yoga class. And knowing my friends and how they are, they're all exceptionally silly people. And so the yoga class, people don't really talk about this stuff. And people teach yoga and they just teach it and they teach it and they try to talk about the bandhas and they try to talk about the ujjayi and all of this stuff. But has anyone ever had the conversation about farting in yoga class? I don't remember seeing a video about that. So I want to share some of my reflections there. You go into a class, very innocently, just wanting to become a better person. And sometimes it happens, you're trying to either just really surrender into the moment, really release, because your teacher keeps telling you to do that. Or, like me, sometimes you're competitive and you're forcing yourself into a move that, really opens up the gateways. And, then you're stuck in class, standing there, like having to own that your body just betrayed you in front of a group of strangers. And it's painful. It's hard to embrace that. And I think that's really part of the yoga practice, the part of the practice of allowing everything to be as it is. And not being so identified with your ego that farting, sends you into a identity spiral. And so as teaching today on my birthday, I really want to address this. And I think one of the things to be keenly aware of is how you position yourself, especially as women. We may move from one position to the next, and we're really kind of like starting a brewing that's happening, like the witch's brew, you know what I mean? And you're moving innocently back and forth, and before you know it, there's air bubbles happening. And the fortunate thing, being a woman, if you're in a class with men, which is there's maybe one man to every 30 women, but if it's not just a fart, it's one of those queef things, at least as a woman, we probably won't sell ourselves out, over that. Like I'm not gonna point at the person next to me and say, queef, because I'm not 100% sure it is anyway. But, that's the deep, dark stuff that people don't talk about. Like, it's one thing to fart in a class, it's a whole other thing to queef. And you're doing a lot of positions that get the air into that area. So what I'm here to teach today is, very cautiously learning how to isolate that perineum, how to isolate those muscles down there, so that when you're moving, there's not that potential of compromise. So for instance, let me just put my phone down so people can see what I'm about to do. So for instance, when you're moving from, let's say, this position into a downward dog, there's some definite air bubbles that can start to, can really start to happen. And when you are moving back into a downward dog, and here you think you're just, in a yoga practice with a group of people, and as you're moving into this position, really, taking the responsibility of pushing that tailbone up toward the ceiling while pressing your hands into the floor, and this happens. And you're supposed to not laugh, you're supposed to act cool about it. And, it's embarrassing. So, as you're moving around, you're coming into these different poses. I mean, one of my favorite poses is because I'm really flexible in my adductors is, when I'm coming into one of these and, as I'm lifting up, nobody's trying to see that, nobody's trying to experience that. And, I think one of the most challenging things about yoga too is, if somebody were to fart like that, you're not supposed to laugh. And, I think sometimes one of the best things we can do is just laugh.